And then you have to make me the host again.
Right.
Actually, we could have been host and co-host.
Yeah, but I'm not here, so it doesn't work.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's already recording. I'm going to make you the host,
And then we should be set.
and then you're set.
Thank you. Great.
Okay.
Looks good. Okay. Sorry.
Okay,
Yes,
we're recording.
we're recording.
Oh, this
And
is so cool. Okay, so welcome to my little kitchen where we make really big things to eat, and it's lovely to have you here. As I said before, I started a little bit of the chicken earlier so we could sort of get things moving along. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make the oil pastry. This is a recipe from
Carol, you have to unmute yourself.
You're muted, Carol.
Just
Okay.
unmute yourself.
Am I
Okay.
unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It's always the best the third time, right?
But we can see you.
Now we can't see you.
Maybe your video.
Can you
That's it.
see me? Can you see me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to say that I muted everybody.
Okay.
And if you have a burning question, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay?
All right.
Go ahead, Carol. Take it away.
All right. Welcome. The third time is the charm. Welcome to my little kitchen. We have big flavors and things to cook today. Hanukkah, oil, presents, and fried foods. So we're going to look at those three things through culinary adventures. I have mentioned before I started the chicken a little earlier just to get a jump on things. But right now what we're going to start with is making the olive oil pastry because it has to sit for about half an hour and rest. This is not my recipe. It belongs to Gil Marks, who was a noted cookbook author, Jewish culinary expert, and rabbi who died last year, I believe. Just a really lovely guy. If you have a chance to look at his collection of cookbooks, it's always a lovely thing to do. GILMARKS. So we're going to start with half a cup of lukewarm water. Then we're going to go with half a cup of vegetable oil. Now this pastry usually, but does not always, take the amount of flour that is called for. So I've suggested that you follow his instructions to slowly add things in. I'm also going to put some salt in. So he says to stir 1 cup of flour in at a time, seeing how the dough absorbs everything. So I'm going to start with a cup. There have been times when I've made this because of humidity or temperature that it takes more flour. There are times when I've made it that it takes less than the 2.5 cups. You never know. It's really going to depend on what's going on, but I will show you what you want the finished product of the dough to look like. And that's what counts more than the amount of flour. Sort of my approach to making challah, no matter how much flour the recipe may have originally called for, every day, depending on temperature, humidity, everything else, and even the time of year that the flour was milled can impact how the flour will absorb. So now this is a dough with 2 cups of flour in it. So let's see how it looks when I pull it all together. And what I'm doing is I'm rolling the ball of dough along the whole bowl to pick up whatever flour is on the side. And I'm gonna add probably about a 1/4 cup, not a 1/2 cup. So this is right now 2 1/4 cups of flour. And I think this is enough flour for the kind of dough that we want.
Carol, can you tell us how it should feel?
Okay, it's what you're looking for is a nice ball like this. It feels soft, but it's not sticky. Okay? You see, it's not sticky, both because my hands have a little oil on them, but because it's come together very nicely. And what you want it to be able to do is, can everyone see me spinning it?
Yes.
All right, this is the sign that the pastry's ready. And you see, this is very, very simple. You add the water, you add the oil, the salt, and then you start with a cup of flour, go to your second cup of flour. You will always need at least 2 cups of flour, but the question really becomes how much flour after that. Now, I suspect this could take a little bit more flour, but for me, this dough is fine. So what I'm going to do is, having rolled it around the bowl to pick everything up, I'm just going to set it aside. Now, some doughs have to be refrigerated. This one is not refrigerated. I'm just going to set it aside in my kitchen for ½ an hour. Okay? So put it over here, out of the way. Let me wash my hands and see what's happening in the oven. Where a few minutes before we got started, I had started on the chicken. So I want to just take a look and see how the chicken's looking. It looks nice, but I like my chicken to be a lot more roasted and golden, so I'm not going to take it out. So now that we've gotten the pastry done, what I want to do is prep the chicken and the fish. Now, it's the same recipe. The only difference will be that the fish will probably cook faster than the chicken will. Now, this recipe calls for thighs with bones in, but you can use any piece of chicken that you want. Just adjust your cooking time, and you do that by checking it. My family is a dark meat family, so I would either buy a whole chicken to roast or buy dark meat. But some folks are a breast family. Some people like a mixture. You can do this with any cut of chicken. I've just used thighs for this particular recipe. So we're going to start with prepping the fish. And I have a lovely bronzino, which I'm going to rinse off. Crash, bang, boom. And I have a roasting pan right here. So let's let the bronzino sit right there for a minute. And what we're going to do is, according to the recipe, we're going to add all the things to the pan that we want to cook the chicken and the fish in. And I'll do it with the chicken as well in a minute. Let me just find it so I don't forget anything. All right, so we're going to start with some lemon cut into slices. I had a lemon out before. Here's a new lemon. When I cook with lemon, I usually put it in the bottom of the pan so that it doesn't scorch. So I'm going to throw the lemon into the bottom of the pan. I tend to keep the lemon in the bottom of the pan. Although if I'm stuffing the fish, I usually put a few slices inside the fish too, which I've saved right here. So we're going to start with the lemon. And I realize in the recipe, I wrote lemon juice in the recipe, but it means lemon slices, not recipe, not juice. So I've got rosemary. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off the rosemary leaves from some of the stem. But I'm also going to leave some of the stem whole. And then I'm going to keep a piece of the stem that I'm going to stuff in the fish. And I'll show you that in just a second. But let me go on with the rest. So we've got I've got green onions today and a mixture of shallots because I love green onions and shallots. And so you will see, go ahead and slice this. What I've done with the shallots is sort of slice them, what is that, about 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch? I love shallots. I love onions, but you all know that because you've been cooking with me for a while. And we're also going to use a mixture of sliced peppers, red, green, yellow, orange. It's just this really very colorful dish. And because it's Hanukkah and we're olives and olive oily here, I'm going to put in a whole bunch of olives with their pits. I tend to cook with pits in my olives, not pitted olives. I think that they are a little bit more flavorful. Here's some chopped garlic. Here's some black pepper. A little bit of salt. A little bit of wine. Now this recipe calls for extra virgin olive oil, and you want to use a real good fruity extra virgin olive oil because the olive oil is a major component of this type of Italian cooking. The olives, the olive oil, a nice fruity olive oil will impart a lovely flavor. So I've got one that I'm using right now that Ned Stoltz introduced me to. It's a Sicilian extra virgin one that we found at Aldi. But I've also used in the past, Trader Joe's sells a Sicilian olive oil that's really lovely. In the old days when you could go to Fairway in Paramus, it was really quite nice. ShopRite has a pretty decent collection of olive oils. Jerry's in Englewood is probably heaven. And I've also found that Gormanoff, which is now Price Cutters, also has a really good collection. But you want an extra virgin olive oil for this dish. You could use a lot of other, the oil that I put in the pastry could be extra virgin olive oil, but it doesn't have to be. So I used safflower oil, which I happen to like. And the oil that I'm going to fry the apple latkes in will be the safflower oil. But when I'm making salad dressings, I'm usually using an extra virgin olive oil or just an olive oil. There are different flavors here. But this kind of Italian cooking really relies and wants the flavor of the olive oil to be an integral part of the dish. So let me make sure I put everything in. I did. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the fish and I'm going to rub it in everything and sort of let everything be around it and on it and everything. And then I'm going to stuff the insides of the fish with 2 pieces of lemon and a few slices of shallot and rosemary. And then just as I said, put a little bit of everything on it. Let me wash my hands and show you what it looks like. And wash everything here because I will need this. Some hot water. There we go. That can be thrown out. So let's see. Let me move the iPad so this doesn't flip out. It's really pretty. It's a pretty fish. See, isn't that a pretty fish?
Beautiful.
All right, thank you. Everyone say ooh and ah. Okay. I'm putting this in
Beautiful.
I'm putting this in a 400-degree oven. Oh my gosh. Now, earlier, I did this with chicken. Woo, woo. And then I'll show you what we'll do with chicken. It's the same thing, as you can see. All right. So we will do the same thing, but you'll see that there's
Move your papers, Carol.
yes, sorry. Different cooking time. So I think I want to get this a little bit more golden. There. Okay. So again, all the things we did before. The lovely peppers. The rosemary. My kitchen smells so good right now with all this rosemary. Green onions. Shallots. The shallots and the green onions. Garlic. Can never have enough garlic. Always be generous with your garlic. The olives. Touch of salt. A good amount of pepper. Be generous with your pepper too.
Carol,
Yes.
do you use salt even though it's a kosher chicken? It's being
Yes, I'm
salted.
using salt on the vegetables. I'm considering the salt that we need on the vegetables. So what I've done is, and there's olives here, so I understand things are salty. But the peppers and the onions require a little bit of salt. And it's only a little bit of salt that I use. Now the fish needed salt, okay? But I didn't use a lot of salt here. But everything else, peppers, onions, garlic, heavily. But what I have found over the years is that if I don't salt the vegetables, the chicken is only going to give off so much salt.
Okay.
So even when I'm making chicken soup, I'm, using salt. So I think that it's important to keep in mind that I'm not trying to over salt anything, but salt is a really complex and beautiful, has a really complex and beautiful flavor profile. And we ought to use it. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did with the fish.
Now, does the fish get garlic also?
Yes, everything that goes on the chicken is going on the fish, okay? The only thing I forgot was some lemon slices. So let me wash my hands. So I don't poison myself. And again, I'm gonna slide these in over here. And I need tongs. I'm gonna lift up the chicken and I'm gonna put it on top of the orange slice. So again, this is, seeing the fish, and now I'm going to show you the chicken, and it's basically the same thing, okay? There you go. And in it goes. The difference is that for the chicken, I'm going to move it up, change it up and down and up and down. I like to turn the skin over and bring the skin off halfway, a third of the way through. I just like the impact that has on the food and the taste. So now the chicken, I have one container of the chicken that's done, and I will let you take a look at it. I'm going to pull out the lemon because cooked lemon is not so pretty. Everything else is pretty, but cooked lemon is not so pretty. When I serve it, I will garnish it with some fresh lemon. So let me get the lemon out, and I'll give you a quick peek at this. And then we'll move on to some other things. So I think you can see it.
Yes, lovely.
And the color stays up. Okay. All right. So let me move this out of the way and not burn myself. Okay. I'm going to put the chicken over there. So give me 2 or 3 minutes to wash up a few things. So that
If anybody has any questions now while you're washing, it's a perfect time.
yes.
You could just unmute yourselves.
So I wanted to have a recipe that really relied heavily on olive oil, and that is demonstrated by the chicken and the fish recipe. I think you could use any solidly fleshed fish. I wouldn't use sole or flounder. It's a little, I think, a little too delicate for this recipe. But bronzino, whitefish, salmon, cod would be wonderful like this. Halibut, any heavily fleshed, any solid fleshed fish would do really well in this recipe. And although salmon is very different from cod, the recipe would just highlight what makes both of those fishes so very, very nice. So it's pretty flexible. And as I said earlier, you can use any cut of chicken you want. My family just prefers thighs. So that's what I used. Okay, so our chicken and our fish are cooking. Let's work on the filling for the pastries. So we're going to, when you look in Sephardi cookbooks and a lot of Mediterranean cookbooks and cookbooks from any of the Arab countries, you see pumpkin listed. Pumpkin's a catch-all for squash. It won't say butternut squash. It won't say delicata squash. It will say pumpkin. But within the realm of pumpkin, it could be any of those things. Today, I'm using butternut squash, but I said in the recipe that you could use a can of pumpkin. Just a can of Libby's pumpkin. It's just pumpkin. And I have used pumpkin, but I happen to have butternut squash in the house. So I went ahead and roasted the butternut squash and then I smashed it. So in lieu of opening up a can of pumpkin and dumping it in the bowl, I have some smashed roasted butternut squash. So let me see. This is also really simple. Outside of the squash, everything you add to it is up to you. It does need some salt. And it does need some pepper. But at this point, you could make these savory, you could make them sweet, you can make them parve, you can make them dairy, you can make them vegan. The recipe for the pastry is vegan. There's not an egg in the pastry. So I've made them all kinds of different ways. They're also finished really good with sometimes with some cheese grated in them or stuffed in them as well. But today, since everything is going to be parve or chicken, I'm going to just do a little bit sweet and a little bit savory. So what I'm going to do is scoop out half of my butternut squash. And half of it's going to get things like nutmeg and cinnamon. And, I don't know, a squirt of honey. Now, honey, it's no longer vegan, but if you've got date syrup or pomegranate syrup, you could do that. And my other one is going to get thyme.
For some reason, you're frozen.
Cumin,
Okay.
and a pinch of the chopped garlic. And then I'm going to mash it together. I'm going to do this without egg. You can add the egg. This is one of those very, very, very forgiving recipes.
Can we see what that looks like?
I'm going to show you in just a second. I'll bring the iPad over. And if you were using a can, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, if you were using a can of pumpkin, it would be the same thing. I usually have pumpkin in the house because we love pumpkin. Pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie, pumpkin tart, But I used up all the canned pumpkin and forgot to buy more, but I had butternut squash, and then I had my favorite squash in the world, which are delicata squashes. So I figured we'd do this with squash. So having done that, what we're going to do now is see how everybody's doing in the oven. And oh, we had a visitor. The cat just came in to sit in the sun. I've got a piece of parchment paper on a cookie sheet, and I'm going to get the pastry that we put aside earlier that's been resting. Get out a rolling pin. You can use your hands if you want, or you can use a rolling pin. You're going to pinch a little bit of dough, roll it into a ball. Let me move that out of the way, sorry. Can everybody see? You'll let me know if you can't see. So what I'm going to do is—
If you could move the bowl is kind of in, yeah, great. Thank
Okay,
you.
we all right now?
Yes, better.
Okay, so we're gonna make circles, and we're gonna make squares, and then we'll have half moons and triangles, and that's how we'll tell the sweet and the savory apart. So let's see. There we go. So here's a circle, and we'll put the sweet stuff in a circle. I need to write this down or I will forget. No, this is the savory. This is the savory. See, I've already forgotten. So I'm going to put a little bit of the savory over here on the side. I'm going to fold over the dough, and then taking the teeth of the fork, I'm going to press it down.
Beautiful.
So then I'm going to roll out this one. This is the most time consuming of anything that I'm offering you to do today, because you have to roll them out. So if you've got someone working with you, that's very nice. I do not today, so we just have to work slowly. I have a little square mold. Okay.
Can you move your rolling pin?
Yep. I realized as soon as I did that exactly what was going on. And now I'm going to take a little of the sweet and put it in the corner and fold it over into a triangle. Now, a triangle will require a little trimming. But now we have half moons and triangles. I'll make a few more before I throw them in. And I have to write this down that the squares are sweet. Okay, because I'll forget. And then I'll have to eat them all, trying to figure out which one's which. These are lovely accompaniments if you make a nice bean soup. If you've got to make I'm making white bean soup tomorrow night for dinner. They make a really nice accompaniment, especially with cheese in them, or a really nice accompaniment to a roast. So, yeah. They're very versatile. And you also see this sort of thing around Rosh Hashanah on the Sephardi table because pumpkin is one of the simonim. And I think in programs past, what I've done with you is roast. I think this year I roasted the pumpkin and served it with the hummus platter as part. I think we had roasted squash as a part of the 7 days of the week. You see pumpkin in couscous. So I'm going to do one more sweet one.
How many pieces do you get out of one portion of dough?
It depends, because you saw how when I was making it, it's never the same amount of flour that goes in because it's very dependent on just everything under the sun. So I have never made less than 15, but sometimes I've gotten as many as 25 from this particular recipe. Okay. And then we will move over to other things, and I will check everybody in the oven. And if you give me a few minutes after the program is over, I will bake the rest of them. And if you come by my house and knock on my back door, socially distancing, I will give out samples. Okay?
Sounds good.
So let's wash my hands again because they're a little oily. Okay, and let's see what's happening in the oven. I save the scraps of the dough. I put them on the side. I let them rest, and then I can usually at the end get a few more pastries out of what rested. Okay, so let's see how things are going in the oven, especially with the fish. Whew. Oh my gosh. Put my glasses back on. It looks very, very pretty. Let's see. Ah, there we go. Let's see what's happening with this fish. Ah, this fish is gorgeous. Let me bring you over here so you can see this absolutely beautiful fish. Okay?
Move your camera back a little bit.
Beautiful,
How's that?
gorgeous.
What kind of fish?
Is that working?
Ranzino. Shh.
Yeah.
Quanzino. Okay, you can see?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so the fish will, of course, cook much faster than the chicken. So we're going to move the fish over here. Move that saucepan over there. Let's take a look at the chicken. The chicken's looking good. And let me go ahead and flip the chicken. So again, as I said, I like to cook chicken by flipping it. A third of the way through the cooking process. So I started it, I'll bring this over. I started it with skin side up. Then I'm gonna move it to skin side down, keeping the lemon underneath because you don't want the lemon to burn. Okay. I'm gonna put this back in. And we're gonna let the chicken cook some more while we make apple latkes. Now, these are just straight apple latkes. There's no pumpkin and there's no potato in this latke at all. It's just straight apple latkes. They're some of my favorite things. They're also going to be parve. You can finish them any way you want. I think they're delicious with really sharp cheddar cheese grated on them. They're also super just on their own, or with a little thyme or some confection or sugar. So what I've got here are some chunks of apples, which I'm going to quickly put through the food processor. So excuse the noise for just a moment, because this is so much faster and easier than doing it by hand.
And you leave the skin on the apples?
I sort of skin them. I'm really sloppy.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind potato peel. I don't mind skin on the apples. Some people do, some people don't, okay? So I sort of peeled them a little bit, you see?
Okay.
But put the wrong side up. Well, good apple. There we go. Much better. Okay. Now, part of what makes this recipe work is that we're going to have to drain the apples. The apples are juicy. Same thing if you're making any kind of latkes, but apples are really, really juicy. So what I did prior to all of you popping into my kitchen was I went ahead and cut the apples and tossed them in a little lemon juice. Let's see, put the dirt and stuff there. And now what I'm going to do is dump them in a colander. And at this point, you could add the lemon juice now. And I'm going to add a little salt, like you would for zucchini or anything else you want to dry out the liquid. So just a sprinkle of salt. And let me move all this. I know it's in the way. Where am I going to put it? This is exciting. Ash bang boom in my kitchen. Okay. So I've got the apples in the colander with a little salt and lemon juice. I'm tossing them together. And then I'm gonna press as much of the liquid out as I can. You could also let it sit here and wait. And I think that's what I said in the recipe. I think I did. But what I'm going to do right now is just press the liquid out as much as I can.
Carol, you might have said it and I might have missed it. Did you slice those apples or did you grate them?
I initially put them in the food processor on the wrong disc, so some of them are sliced.
What should we do if we're making them?
Grate them.
Grate them.
Grate
Okay,
them.
great. Thank you.
And always understand that everybody makes mistakes, okay?
Well, I don't, but I understand that others do.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you're perfect.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right, so I've squeezed out, as you can see, a lot of liquid. I'll give it one more good squeeze here. Okay, and then I'm going to dump it in this bowl. And here we're back to where we were before. Are they going to be sweet or are they going to be savory? And apples are one of those things that can go either way. So we're going to make some that are sweet and some that are savory.
And it doesn't work. It's not functioning properly.
I'm sorry?
I wonder if there's any warranty. It should be warranty.
Okay.
I will mute. I will mute.
That's okay. I
person.
just didn't want to miss anything. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of flour. And this could be anywhere from a half a cup to a quarter of a cup. But I've got a decent amount of apples here, so I'm going to go with about a half and a little bit of baking powder. I think I said how much? A half a teaspoon. Okay. And I'm going to use an egg. You don't have to use an egg. You can make these vegan. I'm just going to use an egg, okay?
If you weren't using an egg, would you substitute something?
Huh?
If you weren't using an egg, would you substitute something?
No.
We would just leave it out.
I've stopped using eggs in my potato latkes. And I get the crispiest, most intensely flavored potato latkes. And if we have a few moments, at the end, I will whip one up. Because with it just being Michal and me in the house this year, one good sized potato makes 6 to 7 really nice potato latkes. And I said, my potato latkes are at this point just salt and pepper and potato. And maybe a little baking powder, but that's basically it. And they're crispy and yummy and good. But this will hold without an egg. I'm just using an egg because I like the texture of the egg in this. Okay, so this is just the basic thing. And like everything else, there's really only one secret to a good latke, and that's really hot oil. There's no substitution for really hot oil. Let's see how the chicken's doing. Very good. Of course, a pan with a rack and a paper towel is really nice too. But the crucial ingredient in a potato latke, in any kind of latke, in any kind of fried food, is really, really hot oil. So the first batch of latkes that I'm going to make, I'm going to use a little bit of apple latkes. I'm going to use black pepper and scallion. Because as we've discussed numerous times, I think everything is enhanced with onions. Oh dear, it's not gonna be any way around this. My hand's all messy. Okay, so. Now let's see if I can bring you over here so you can see the fun. All right, let's see if I can do this without killing myself. Okay, let's see if it's hot. It's not hot enough. It's going to be such a mess to clean up afterwards. All right, let's give it a minute more. Ah, but you can see it starting to bubble. So. Could be a touch hotter. There we go.
We can see it perfectly.
Okay, good. Because I need my other hand now, so I've got to bring you back over here. Because I don't have a third arm. Okay, I'm going to wash up my hands so everything's not completely sticky to the point where I can't work. And I know the pan is in the way. Give me just a moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg in the next batch. And then the last batch is going to have curry powder, because I think apple and curry is a really, really nice combination. Okay, so let's see. I'm just worried about the sun. So you can see they're frying very nicely. Let's see what's going on with the chicken. I think I can flip it over for the last bit of cooking, and then I can put the pastries in the oven. Yes, excellent. So what I'm doing now is the chicken has been cooking skin side down. So now I'm going to finish it skin side up. And I'll bring you over so you can take a look. So you can see.
Beautiful.
It's going to go back in. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to crank the heat up a little bit because I want to move this along so I can get the pastries in. Okay, so let me see if I can bring you a little bit closer. Maybe. We'll see. This back and see how these babies are doing. All right. They're floating very nicely in the oil.
We can see, but it's okay.
Okay, yeah, and there's a lot more sun over here. So I think what I'm gonna do is just put you back over here because that will probably be the best thing to do.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
but that's the downside of cooking at home. All right, so do a little bit of plating.
I love all the variations you show us.
Oh, well, thank you.
It makes it very interesting.
So we can start with a little bit of plating. There's serving piece. So what I'm going to do is take the chicken out and place it here. And then I'm going to circle it with the peppers and the olives and the onions. It's all real jammy, that consistency that I really love in my cooking. And I'm going to remove the stalks of the rosemary because it's looking a little tired. And then I'm going to flip a latke, I believe. Now, if you don't use egg, the one thing I would suggest is that when you flip the latkes, that you use your finger to back it a little bit, because sometimes they're a little more delicate without the egg. Egg's a good binder, but they'll still flip just fine. So to finish the chicken, I'm going to get a few fresh slices of lemon.
Oh, the latkes are okay?
Yeah, they're fine. I just flipped them.
Okay.
A few fresh slices of lemon and just a touch of fresh rosemary. to sprinkle on the top. And my grandmother's china. And there you go.
Beautiful.
That's the chicken. And there's enough vegetables there that it's really just a one. You didn't hear that. Just a one dish kind of thing, which is really lovely. And the chicken is, the second batch of chicken is almost done. And the latkes are looking so beautiful. So I'm going to take the sweet ones out. And then I'm going to put in the first of the savory ones. And in a moment, I'm going to take the chicken out and put the pastries in. Although I may take the chicken out, let's go put pastries in. Oh, wait. Sometimes I forget that I have all kinds of little things hidden in here. Radio, there we go. I'm just going to put them in here. Okay, let's get these babies in. All right, let's go to the next batch of potato latkes, of apple latkes, which are slightly sweet. Okay. Now, for plating them, I'm going to put them on a platter, and you can see that there are scallions in them, but I'm going to finish them with a few scallions on top. So I'm going to eat this one actually. So there's only going to be 2 on a plate because I'm here and you're not. They're really good. And you can see they have some scallions on top of them. Can everyone see? Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right. Now, the other thing that you can do, which is really nice and a lot of fun, is make a salad. So I've got some red romaine, radicchio, endive, and green butter lettuce here. So it's very colorful. And I'm going to take the savory potato latkes and I'm going to place them on top. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, date syrup, a little bit of pepper, and just a touch of salt, and a little drizzle of extra virgin of balsamic vinegar. And I'm going to mix that up. And then you have a salad, which you've incorporated your apple latkes into. And I'm going to finish it with some walnuts because walnuts and apples are great. Now from here again, if meat's not the issue, you could finish this with some grated cheese, some crumpled goat cheese, or as I said, a really nice sharp cheddar cheese would be great, or just like this. Now, let's pull these off while I finish this one. And then I'm gonna do the last batch with a little bit of curry. I love the smell of curry. Okay. And I've still got enough oil in the pan for another batch. Okay, now these are the sweet ones. So there's okay. Confectioner sugar. You only need a little bit because they're really sweet. The frying really intensifies the draining of the extra water from the apples really intensifies the sweetness. So you can sprinkle a little confectioner sugar on, just like that. And here you can take a look at both the salad and the latkes with the confectioner sugar. Can everybody see this?
Yes, it looks delicious, beautiful.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful.
Very inviting.
I'm sorry, the last thing? Very what?
Very inviting.
Oh, lovely, thank you. All right, so let's put things over here. It's getting kind of crowded in my little kitchen. Okay. Put that there. That there. I think I put the eggs back in the refrigerator. Okay, let's see what's happening in the oven as I take a look at my curry latkes. Very good. Woo! All right. More chicken. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We'll put that there. And the pastries are coming along very nicely. A minute or two more and they'll be ready. Okay, the other thing is I like also sprinkling a little thyme on my latkes too. So we have some options here. Let me get the rosemary off of this because I don't think the rosemary really works with it. And put this over here. And let's see how these babies are doing. Very nice. Let me put some more oil in so I can finish cooking up the batch. Needs a little more oil. But the pan is nice and seasoned and slick at this point, so it doesn't need a whole lot more. And we can start lining things up here for show and tell. Over here out of the sun, and I believe the pastries are ready. Maybe I'll put the chicken in for a little bit longer, just to get it a little toastier. You guys are ready to go. You're ready to go. Woo. Okay. Ouch. Woo. That's hot. That's hot. Woo. Okay. There we go. Yum. Okay. So, out from the pastries. The chicken can go back in for just a little bit more color. Now, Hanukkah is also about presents. And one of the things that I love so much about the pastries is they're like little presents. You don't know what's inside. So you can put them in a bowl. And you have a little bowl of presents of pumpkin pastries. But I'll open one up so we can see inside. And you see the pastry filled with the pumpkin. So, wow, we really moved along quite nicely. So what we've got over here is, of course, the chicken and the fish, which is cooked with olive oil and olives. It's extra virgin olive oil because the flavor is really, really an important part of the food. And then for fried food, we've got these lovely apple latkes on their own or as a part of the salad. And then for presents, we have these lovely little pumpkin pastries right there. And you can also do them unrolled up like a long cigar. You could use puff pastry if you didn't want to make the oil pastry, but the idea being to use oil because it's Hanukkah. So I went with this particular Sparty pastry. And that's what we have. And then all the different things that you can do with it once you've put it together. Again, if meat is not a part of the meal, consider a really, really sharp cheddar cheese grated on your apple latke. It's just absolutely lovely. Almond butter, peanut butter would also be really, really nice on the latkes. And you can then segment some oranges, which would look lovely with, or some sliced oranges. I have a beautiful, let's see how this maybe looks. I have a beautiful blood orange right here that I'm going to cut in sections and put in with the pumpkin pastries, and also maybe add to, put in with the pumpkin pastries, which just really looks pretty. Bring that over. So you can see it just adds a really nice, lovely color contrast to it. And that is what I have for you today. And if you've got questions, let me know. And I mean it. I'm going to finish cooking this stuff. And if you come to my house at 732 Rutland Avenue and you come to my back door, I will put a little plate out for you, socially distancing, or send somebody over here to pick up for you. I would be happy to share some of this lovely food with you. If not, I'm going to eat as much of it as I can. But I'm trying to keep my girlish figure. So
does anybody have any questions? Feel free, unmute yourself.
Good job, Carol. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Carol, you did a fantastic job. Everything is beautiful and well organized and looks delicious, and you gave me a lot of great ideas. And I also want to thank everybody for, who participated watching this. Thank you for coming, and take Carol up on her suggestion about, stopping by and picking up a little taste. Okay, so I guess I'm going to end the meeting now if nobody has any questions.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Thank you, Cindy. Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
You too,
Have a
Mara.
great week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Julie. You did a lot of work.
Sisterhood appreciates everybody.
Okay, I'm going to sign off now.
Okay,
Okay,
Thank you again.
Bye.